All right, today I'm taking out this farm fence for this customer. He's got a decent sized property, but at the very back of it, he's got this old wire fencing. I didn't get all the wire out of there, all the fencing. I thought I had it all out, but there was a section that was still buried down in the ground there, so I have to dig that out. No big deal. And it's got all these trees growing through it. You can see some yellow, or I'm sorry, you can see the orange marks on there. And it goes all the way down through here. Kind of walk along here. But all the trees with marks on it, I'm going to cut out and save for firewood. And then the rest of it, I'm going to cut, once the fence is out of there, I get all the fence yanked out of there, I'm going to come back with my brush cutter and mow all that, the rest of that junk down, all that brush and the small tree limbs. As you'll see, I'm cutting along here. I'm going to take out the trees and I'll just leave all the tree limbs and mulch those up with my brush cutter. Pretty good stand of trees here I got to take out. I'm hoping I can get this done today. That's a pretty big sized tree there. I don't know about that one. I'm gonna have to that's a monster. Now that I'm looking at it by myself, that's there's a lot there, but I'll get it. I'm gonna get going here. Thanks for watching. didn't get all the wire out of there, all the fencing. That's what happens when you get in that fencing. I thought I had it all out, but there was a section that was still buried down in the ground there, so I have to dig that out. No big deal. Alright, so I brought all the logs over here. The customer wanted this for firewood. Typically I'll haul this stuff away, but like I said, the customer wanted it for the firewood, I think in his house, or just for bonfire. So it's all good stuff, nice and seasoned. So that was kind of nice. I didn't have to haul that away. Alright, so I got this done. You can see all the trees. I came through and cut all the dead trees out first. I came back through and mulched all of the smaller stuff up. Now, I'd given the customer a price to clean up the debris, but that was going to cost a little bit more, and I think he was mainly just trying to get that old farm fence out of there, and all those brambles and the smaller trees mulched up. All this stuff is pretty dry. It'll dry out pretty quick and can be picked up pretty easily. I got that big old tree out of there. Trim this mulberry up. So the customer seems happy with it. And I'd given the customer a price for clearing all out and then scraping it clean, like you've seen in my other videos where I go out and grind all the stumps out. And it was probably double the price. Not necessarily, well, it wasn't double the price, but it was, you know, a couple grand more to do all that and get it cleaned up. And I think his goal was just to get it cleaned up and mostly get that fence out of there. I try to work with everybody's budget and what they want to spend, and you know, I kind of give different options on it. Obviously this is, you know, not the cleanest job I've done, but that's what we agreed on. And I'd give him a price for the other stuff, and he didn't want to do that this time. So there's that job. Got it all done.